welcome to episode 14, technically, of Podcast of the Rings. Alex, I finally know the name of our podcast. I know the name of the show that we're watching. I still don't know the names of the creators. I don't think I care just yet. I think I'm retaining some names like Lindsay Weber and John Cahill. I'm talking about this frivolity stuff because I'm afraid to talk about this episode that we're here to unpack today. Alex, what episode are we here to talk about?
This was episode 7, The Eye. Why are you afraid of this one?
I'm afraid of this one because last week Udun was so good.
Yes, it was.
So good. And to have this episode follow up really
Tall order
was they really challenged me as a viewer. Now, yes, I have now 2 podcasts under my belt that analyze TV shows.
Sure.
But to be honest, I don't really ever go into something going, well, season 4 of Community was the worst. Or, that wasn't really a strong episode. If I like something, I tend to really like it. And I never walk away going, that was a particularly bad episode. But the entire time while I was watching this episode, and you can attest to it, I was cringing.
See, I felt your cringe, and there were moments during the first time I sat down, we sat down together to watch this, where I was feeling some of that. But, and so I was a little bit feeling the same way you were. And I think part of that is because last episode I thought was very good, and it was just action-packed. There was a lot happening on screen action-wise. And this episode was much slower. It was more introspective. And upon rewatching it a couple times, I came to like it more. When I got over some of my initial gut reactions, there's a lot of really good things happening in this episode. There's some cringeworthy moments. I'm not going to lie. There's
totally.
one or two. And I have thoughts on those that we'll get into. But I think overall, for me, this was a great episode.
Well, great.
Not as good, not as good as Udun. There's just so much happening. It's very dense, and it's a lot of just sort of character development as opposed to things moving forward plot-wise. There's a couple things. So it was much slower paced. Not a lot happens on the surface. There's a couple big moments that happen, but I enjoyed it upon the second and third times watching.
Fair. Second time rewatching it, even with you, I went back into it with an open mind, and I too hate certain things less and can understand why certain things happened. And for you, which we'll get into eventually, some of the choices that they definitively made that goes against canon, let's say, that doesn't bother me so much, but I think we'll get into that shortly. Again, I'm the first person to say this is an 8-episode long movie. And I knew this was going to be the aftermath. This was going to be all is lost.
I think
it's how they got to there is what's
I heard
really
someone put it like this. I think if we take a look at, 5 seasons, 8 episodes, 1 hour each, at the point we're at currently, if we were to look at, percentage-wise where we are in comparison to the Peter Jackson adaptation, the whole trilogy, we would be, I think, a little bit after they, meet Strider. So that's where we are.
That's it.
Yeah, exactly. That's where we are in the grand arc of the story. So in terms of pacing and where we are in this whole large story they're telling, we're just at the beginning. So
that's also giving the creators a lot of credit that they have all 5 seasons planned out. Now, they just might.
I think they probably, thinking about the pre-production time, they probably have the roadmap all planned out. I want to hope
that. I want to hope that, because based off of what we're seeing, we're not seeing a lot of disjointed storytelling like you might see with the Star Wars, which is, the most recent trilogy. We did have a couple people respond to our tweet about their thoughts for this episode, and I think this segues perfectly into what you're talking about. But Brad Gren said, I learned the showrunners are J.J. Abrams acolytes, and this explains
Star Wars,
yeah, exactly. This explains a lot about why I'm losing patience with the contrived dramatics that flows from audience manipulation rather than character or conflict. Now, I don't wholeheartedly agree with Brad, but what I can agree with is the mysteries are the driving force of this show to keep a captivated audience.
I disagree. So let's take a look at one of the mysteries that I think you yourself and many fans are partaking in.
Who's Celeborn?
Where's Celeborn at? We'll get to that. Who is Sauron? I think I heard Corey Olsen, the Tolkien professor, put this very nicely in one of his latest streams I watched a little bit of. There's nothing in the show, in the text, so to speak, that is driving us to really be questioning who Sauron is. That's all kind of external internet hype buzz conversation that fans, I think, are imposing upon the show. And it's fun to engage in a little bit, I'm not going to lie. But I don't think that like, if that was a central thing where they were going, who is Sauron, right? There's been like one mention from Revion about, Sauron went by many names. That's it. And that's, I think, just to really connect Adar with Sauron a little bit in the viewers' minds. But the show isn't like really driving us to engage with that question. I think the only mystery box thing is really with the stranger.
Right.
And we're learning more about the stranger, and especially now what we see in this episode with the cultists kind of having that. We now know for sure that they're not good. Right, I think we could guess that, but it was still like we didn't really know what their motives were.
We didn't really know, and I wanted to, we live in an age where everything's gray, and they're literally wearing gray outfits.
Yeah, exactly. But again, if we take a look at where we are in the grand scheme of this story arc, I wouldn't expect them to give us an answer on that right away at this point. Again, the whole Strider thing, right? We don't find out who he is really until a little bit after where we are in the percentage-wise of this story. So when you compare it. So I think we will soon get answers on that. I really think that probably, in this, episode 8, the finale, maybe we will get some closure on that a little bit, or at least they're not going to drag out that mystery. At least I hope they don't.
Well,
and if they do drag out that mystery, then I would agree more with Brad's comment. But I don't think, at least in my interpretation, I don't think the mysteries are the driving force behind the show. I think, and this episode is a perfect example, I think the characters and their journeys and how they're growing is the driving factor behind this show.
I guess my point is that you can't divorce from the show its advertising tactics, which are evil will reveal itself. And now the hashtag on Twitter is Sauron, with an emoji next to it. And
sure.
And I can't disagree with you that the internet isn't putting a lot of weight on who could be Sauron. All right, I'm just not going to argue with you. Forget it.
I mean, you feel free to disagree with me. I
don't disagree with you.
I'm still a firm believer in we have not yet seen Sauron on screen, and maybe based on the hashtags and the advertising, we will see Sauron on screen in episode 8. I guess we did technically see Sauron in episode 1 in the flashback, but that's it.
I think they're going to reveal him. I think that's what's happening.
And,
and it's going to happen over a wide establishing shot, and he's going to fade into the sun like a Teletubby baby. And it's going to be like, Sauron.
Oh my God.
Anyway, let's jump into our blow by blow, piecing together what happened in episode 7, The Eye. All right, Alex. So one of the things I didn't know we were going, whether or not we were going to get, I didn't know we were going to get, if we were going to get the aftermath of the volcano until, you know, the picture, the some of the advertising came out. I thought they might give us Stranger, Elrond, and Doran. That's kind of what I thought. But we got all 3 of those stories.
Yeah. And I think, just talking broadly, I really liked, I didn't really pick up on this the first time, but I really liked how there was kind of this thematic through line through all of these stories, which was all of our characters, or most of our main characters, taking on the burden of guilt and shame and blame for these terrible things that were happening. In all of these storylines, tragedy, right? There were no happy moments. I guess there was a little bit of a happy moment for the Harfoots, and then that was soon dashed. But really just dark times. And we had Galadriel taking on blame. We had Theo taking on blame. We had Elendil. We had Doran. We had Nori. And even the Stranger.
Right.
So I really liked, even though we had these storylines that were 3 different plots that were sort of completely separate from each other, a little bit of interconnectedness with the Harfoots in terms of the grove being destroyed. But thematically, they all fit together, which I really enjoyed.
I think when you pointed that out to me, it definitely made more sense for the pacing of this episode. And I guess I don't know if I illustrated this properly. I did not expect an action-packed episode. That is not what made me go, oh God.
Sure.
It's certain choices that happened that got us the contrived elements, namely. Yeah. And I don't think you can, believe me, I want to be wrong, but I don't think you can justify why Galadriel walks off with Theo. I don't understand it.
I can forgive that.
Why? How?
Because this is a cataclysmic event, and in the aftermath, it's chaos. And I will say, maybe the show, I think they did do a fairly good job of illustrating that with the shots of like just people lying there who had been killed and everything, and just everyone shouting names, and no one really knew what was going on. There was a huge, volcanic explosion. People get separated and maybe flung, across. You can't really see in the dust and everything. So the fact that we get some characters separated and going off on their own, and then we get some characters meeting up and whatever, I'm fine with that. I did think it was weird that we don't see, we're jumping ahead a little bit to the end, but we don't see Halbrand till the very end.
At all.
That's weird. I thought that was a weird choice.
Watching it again, she does go, Halbrand, Elendil. Yeah. So she thinks she did it, her justice. By the way, she just walks by a guy who's on fire. She could help that person. And so, I guess that's my question is girl, what? Help these people a little bit. You're an elf. You just survived.
Maybe that's why she's like, whatever. They're gone. They're not going to heal. They're a human. They're a weak, frail human.
And I will give her this. I'm not comparing myself to Galadriel. But when I was in a major car accident, I was on the freeway. And somehow, even though I was the one that rear-ended somebody, managed to drive my car another 20 feet ahead of that person. Mm-hmm. How? I'll never be able to tell you because I don't remember.
Yeah, adrenaline takes over.
Correct. And then the next thing I remember is I'm breathing in smoke from the airbag and I can't breathe. And also I was smoking a cigarette, so I was afraid I was about to catch the car on fire. I exit the car on the freeway.
Yeah.
With a broken hand.
If that was written in a show, you'd be like, why are you getting out of the car, right? But it's like in the moment as a real person, it's the adrenaline.
I had no cognizance whatsoever. Yeah. That was, I looked back at their car and went, I'm getting back in the car when like I think a breath of fresh air hit my brain. So if she's experiencing trauma and adrenaline to that, and multiply that times 100, what I was going through, I can understand her staggering off. I could, maybe. I think it's just a stretch, and I think for the heroine to do that, it's awkward.
Okay.
Especially when the queen is like, hey, I'm going to lose my eyesight to save 2 dumb villagers.
Yeah, and I think part of it too is, because that makes, like, for Muriel and Isildur and everyone to be saving those people, it's their own people, right?
Sure,
there's Numenorians in there.
Galadriel cared so much. It's just she cared.
But she cared about fighting her enemy, right? I don't think
she's the worst. So she's just a selfish person that we just can't get behind.
Yes. I think so. Like her whole motivation up until this point was defeating Sauron, revenge, right? She didn't really, I think, care about like saving the Southlanders as much as defeating the enemy.
Because she knew he'd be there.
Yeah.
That's fair. I don't like her then. So then now I actually dislike her very much.
But this is why I like what they did in this episode with her. Because they pair her with Theo, and we get them on the road, right, on the journey to the camp, sharing about themselves. And through her talking to Theo as someone young and inexperienced and who is similar in ways where he wants to fight and like defend his people, and he's been through this similar experience where now he's putting blame on himself because he was the one who gave up the hilt, right? This wouldn't have happened in his mind if he hadn't have done that. And Galadriel in her mind at this point is saying, this wouldn't have happened if I hadn't brought the Numenorians here in my quest for vengeance. Right. So we get them sharing and connecting over these similar experiences, and through that, we get to know a lot about Galadriel that I think, for me, made me empathize with her more. There were moments in some episodes I liked her more, in some episodes I didn't like her, and we're seeing but we're seeing in this episode especially a lot of growth for her character.
I'm going to agree with you in that I think it made sense for her to be with Theo. I liked her being with Theo, especially because Theo has a big old boy crush on her.
Yeah, who is that?
I wish I could do the boy yoing as good as you. Can you do it for me really quick? Yeah, that's actually really crazy how well you can do that. But also Theo's like, well, forget it. Forget my mom. Forget Arondir. I'm out. I guess I got to get over it.
No. He says he's worried about them. He's like, they're all dead. Like he's worried about them. He's not like,
just
whatever.
don't understand why they're walking away. They're not looking for. I know they're trying to go to camp. I struggle. I struggle with it. But what we get with them together, both deconstructing their part in this and their guilt. Watching her, there's something that happens, especially when someone's in a leadership role, is the majority of people are faking it till they make it. And I can say this even as a director or as a teacher or in a position of guiding somebody. There are moments I have where it's like, God, don't listen to me. Why are you listening to me? I might be getting paid, but holy moly. But then you're put in a unique position where someone truly doesn't know something and they've given you the trust to teach them, or maybe don't even know that they have, and you uniquely fit that slot and not only like educate somebody or help them along in their path, but fortify yourself as the leader. And we saw her do both. We saw her help somebody, but then become her own healer in that moment too, cathartically. It was pretty good.
Yeah, like through her sort of consoling and giving wisdom to Theo, she was working through her own things. Specifically when he's like, oh, we should just go. When they're talking about orcs, and she's saying like, oh, there weren't even orcs when I was your age, and she's saying she killed a bunch of orcs. And he's like, oh, that's great. And she says, well, it darkens the heart to call dark deeds good.
Right.
So she's like, I think also this is like sort of post her conversation with Adar that hit her, right? And that was right before this happened. So she's still processing that too. And she says like every war is fought within and without, and she's currently fighting that war within of like, all right, what do I value? What are my motivations here? Was this worth it? And I think the big thing here is she gives Theo her sword. And in the end of the episode, she lets him keep it. And earlier, when she has the conversation with Elrond in episode 1, right? He's like, put down your sword. And she's like, I don't know who I'd be without my sword. Right? And so now she's giving up her sword.
I didn't see that.
Yeah, there's a lot of growth for her here that I think it's cool to have her working it out in conversation with Theo.
And now like the alpha males can be upset. It can put down their sword on. She's not a soldier. She's probably not going to be a soldier anymore, guys. Don't you worry.
Well, she's still got a knife. I don't like the knife.
God, we need them to protect ourselves from you guys.
Can we talk about, speaking of conversations Galadriel and Theo are having, can we talk about Celeborn?
Yes, we can. I wanted to ask one clarifying question, or like I kind of wanted to highlight something about the sword, though. The sword that has been gifted to Theo, could that be a sword of one of the 9 kings of men in the future? Or do we know what the make is of those swords?
There's no, it's an elvish sword. So
they wouldn't have like, I just wondered if there's like imagery of.
Is it? No, I think it's her sword. It might be. I didn't take a close look at it. I think it is. I don't know if it's a sword she got from Numenor, but
I would offer looking at the sword and going, ooh, I wonder, could this turn into a Ringwraith's sword?
Look, of Ringwraith candidates, I think Theo is up there, especially with these themes we're talking about with his internal struggle.
He's just not necessarily a king.
Yeah, but I mean, it's not. I don't think we need to assume that all 9 of the Nazgul were kings, because there are passages where he says they were kings and also sorcerers and powerful men. Like it's a mixed bag. We don't know exactly. They weren't necessarily all 9 of them kings.
Question: do the kings, the 9? Do they fight with Sauron in the Battle of the Last Alliance? Or is it mentioned?
Not explicitly, but I'm assuming we'll probably see that in the show.
I'm curious. I mean, seeing as the show's about rings, we may learn that.
I would guess that we will see all of the 9, or at least some of the 9. And like we'll see all the people who have the rings, and so that means there will be 9 men who have rings, and they will probably be fighting with Sauron. I would imagine.
I'd be curious. Yeah. So, Celeborn, which is something we've reflected on before, that he's supposed to be in this timeline. At this point, her husband.
Yes.
And the purists really were pissed about it. And here you go, guys. Celeborn is married to Galadriel. She just thinks he's lost.
Yeah, I
don't like this.
No. I think it's totally fine. I think it's great. I think if you're pissed about this, I question why.
Yeah.
Because...
Well, and again, we're not here to give credence or even pull apart those thoughts, but I just think it's really funny that, like, no one gave the show any patience.
Right.
On
They're
those
like, where's
topics.
Celeborn? Where's Celeborn?
I mean,
Where
and
is
even
he?
we did, like, oh, Celeborn should be here too, you know.
Yeah. But they address it.
Yeah, they do address it. It's in this moment again that I'm gonna say it. Morfydd Clark, not the best actress.
Okay.
I do like her. I really do, and I like her portrayal. But it's a very stale performance in this moment, especially, and that's okay. It's not my biggest criticism, you know. And again, it's not pulling me out, but I'm just like, oh, you can make me feel so much more in this moment, and you're not.
Yeah.
And it's so neither here nor there.
Specifically about the things we learn about Celeborn here. They are sort of paying homage to Beren and Luthien in terms of how Galadriel and Celeborn met, where she was dancing in a glade, sweet. And he came upon her. That's kind of Beren and Luthien. I like her calling him a silver clam. It's adding a little more dimension to her character of like, oh no, at one point she could crack a joke and have a smile, and even Theo's like, you dancing?
Right.
Like, so I like that acknowledgement of sort of past Galadriel, right? And she says that she doesn't say he died. She says, I never saw him again after that. So I think this ties back in with the thing she said to Theo earlier, where she says, what cannot be known hollows the mind. Fill it not with guesswork. So she, I think, is taking that advice herself and going, well, I don't know his fate, so maybe she's holding out a little hope. But I also thought that line was funny because of all the Sauron theories, and I feel like maybe the viewers of the show are having their minds hollowed by what cannot be known.
Oh, snap.
But yeah, so I liked this moment. I'm sure we'll see Celeborn in future seasons now, and I want to know, what's he been up to? Where's he been? Where's he been hiding out?
I saw a tweet that's like, I saw a theory that Celeborn is Adar, and at this point I'm just gonna go with it. Like, as completely as a joke. And then it was like, and Nori's Gandalf, and Poppy is, you know, whatever. Yeah. So it is pretty funny.
Yeah.
But the theory is pretty tried and true. No body, no death. Which brings us to Isildur.
Yeah. Well, and specifically the fact that we know Celeborn does stuff after this in the canon. So if they contradict that, that would be a thing for everybody to get mad at. So he's not dead. Not
for a second did I think that man was dead. And if anyone misunderstood that, I would be happy to explain it to you slowly. But
yeah, Isildur as well.
Isildur, well, actually, let's just have a moment of silence for yet another of our pudgy boys.
Pour one out.
For Ontimo.
They just can't make it past a few episodes.
I'm so sad. Like, I couldn't tell who was pulling whom out because of all the red and the dust and the whatever. And then, because I thought Ontimo was pulling Valandil out. Right. And I didn't realize it was Isildur.
Yeah.
And I am so sad that they killed Ontimo. That is just not fair.
I felt it coming, and I thought it was going to happen in Udun, right? I remember when it was like all three of them going off. I'm like, oh man, like one of them's got to die.
We did think though that maybe I said that maybe they would do it to Valandil first.
Yeah, and I think eventually he will die because again, we know that Isildur ends up naming his son after Valandil, so I think it's probably going to be in memory of him. Maybe it won't even be till the Last Alliance, but I think he's not long for this world. But Ontimo, oh man, as soon as in the last episode he was like, I think I've seen enough fighting for the rest of my life. It's like, oh no.
You're gonna die.
Oh no, dude.
He shouldn't have said anything. We should have never cut to him. And we still don't have any confirmation that our good orc boy son is still alive. So
I was scrubbing through at the very end to see if we could see him, and yeah.
So I still again, no body, no deaths.
Yeah.
So we'll see. But in a complete contrast to handling crisis well, Muriel rallies her troops, goes in to save the people, enters a burning building herself.
Yeah.
Becomes blinded, and like her father warned, in a very, very nondescript way.
The prophecy ended up becoming true. Darkness awaited her. Yeah.
In multiple ways. And Isildur, they just left him in a burning building.
Yeah, like I think it was one of those things where they did say at the end of the episode they were leaving a battalion behind to search for any remaining people, but I'm assuming then that's how Isildur is going to join up and do something.
He's wandering somewhere. He got out, maybe he's in the part of the barn that there is a hole and he's fine. He is fine. He's not dead.
Clearly, he's not dead.
But here's what's so confusing to me. First of all, round of applause for the actor playing Elendil. Absolutely.
Oh my God, yeah.
Gorgeous, amazing performance.
Yeah.
But when he's looking for everyone that's walking up the hill and sees Beric and hopes it's Isildur and then asks Valandil, "Where is my son?" Go there, man. I can't believe we didn't see him run or go to the town to find his son.
Here's the thing. It makes total sense. In the episode prior, or 2 episodes, what's Elendil on Isildur about? Duty and service to Numenor. That's his whole thing. And he's saying, look, you haven't done anything for Numenor, right? What have you done? You've just been, a slacker, essentially. And I will say, yeah, exactly. Cut your hair, you damn hippie. I did like in this moment we get growth for Isildur, where he's like, I'm gonna go save people. We got a little bit of that with Kemen, conspicuously absent from this episode. Not at all conspicuous.
Your prediction was vastly wrong.
I know. I was hoping for that bottle episode.
Jeez.
Follow us on Twitter for more of those amazing predictions. So I like that, but Elendil in this moment, he is distraught, right? Not only after he finds out about his son, but just for the loss his people have endured. So he has a job and he is going to serve. And his job is he is the captain. He has to lead his people, even if it means not going in search of his son.
I guess this is my overall complaint. I think this is what was the cringe of it all. They cut. And then the next thing we see is him walking with the queen. We don't see him. We don't need to see everything, but maybe stop him from going or something, or going, watch him steal himself. Because
I just don't think Elendil would go and selfishly look for his own son in that moment. I just don't think he would.
You know how we see him cry at the end about coming back eventually? Give us a second where we see him put his arm against a tree and hold back and then
I think all we needed was the way he says, "Tell me what happened to him," or "Where is he?"
I disagree because it felt unresolved. Something about it was missing a beat. So
sure.
In the same exact way, and we're jumping ahead a little bit, but we don't need to talk about it yet, but in the same exact way that the stranger throwing Nori across the forest floor
we didn't get
was never addressed. That's cringe.
Yeah.
That's awkward. So that's the storytelling aspect that I have a hard time with, is that they're just asking us that didn't matter. And I get it. Poppy was knew that Nori was uncomfortable.
You see the tension when Sadok
But they've been walking for how many days, and they haven't been looking at each other or whatever.
And again, I think you're right, and I think that's a symptom of juggling all of these characters and plot lines. Is that
that's where I start going like, oh, guys, come on! This is a tenet of improv too. If you realize it in the moment when you're performing in front of an audience, the audience saw it 2 steps ahead of you.
Yeah,
And so, like, like if someone also walks, so like you usually have to satisfy what the audience expects and then move on and not drag it out. But then another thing is like, someone's established a table and they'll walk through the table. You have to go, you just walked through the table, man. Or the audience is going to be like, did it just walk through a table? And they're not going to address it. Okay, weird. Now you're totally pulled out of it. Yeah. So you kind of don't act like that didn't happen in a way.
Yeah, I don't think the show is necessarily doing that where they're not acknowledging it. I just think, they're not acknowledging it in a direct way where it's like Nori and the stranger have a confrontation we see on screen, or Nori and Poppy go, hey, this happened. But like clearly based on how they're interacting with the other characters, we know that off screen it was addressed. And so your mind has to do that extra legwork to then rationalize and fill in the gaps. And that's where I think for me, why when I watched this a second and third time, I could more easily process that and it didn't bother me as much. But I had to, in my mind, fill those things in, and they weren't giving me that
storytelling? Because again, one of the things I commend this show for is giving the audience the credit to do some of the legwork.
Yeah.
But apply that thought or that technique to, let's say, Doran and Elrond, and jump from Doran the king telling Prince Doran, we're not helping the elves. And then the next scene is Disa saying, I hate him. Wait, actually, we own the Mithril. And never seeing the confrontation. And you just see Elrond sitting outside of, the door.
Right.
Like, it's deleting these scenes, which again, that was an expertly well done scene because Elrond doesn't even need to be told by Doran what happened because the way Doran just is expressing emotion, it's clear. That's something I commend.
Yeah.
Delete that scene. They've deleted that scene
from the
Elendil,
Harfoots.
From the Harfoots, and kind of robbed us of an experience, I think. And it's asking us to do a little bit too much legwork.
I'm sure that there's scenes like that do exist on the cutting room floor.
And I was just thinking that as I was saying that. And again, we don't need them, but I don't want to be conscious of the fact that I'm watching a TV show.
Yeah.
And this whole episode really reminded me I was watching a TV show.
Yeah. No, I can understand that.
Still really necessary storytelling elements and things I liked. And so that's I want to like it. It just was tough. So Elendil and Valandil are escorting the queen. We have a moment where she literally almost hits a branch.
Both of us were like, what the? That was weird.
It was so weird.
Yeah.
But I hadn't got up until that moment that this is so nitpicky, but that she had hurt her eyes. Because she goes into the burning building and embers fly into her face and she goes, ah! So
and then we do see her just kind of staring in the scenes prior. Like, and even when Elendil comes up to them, she seems to not really notice at first. And again, this is on rewatch, I noticed.
And she's walking to Elendil, holding Valandil's shoulder. But the reason why I didn't think something bad had happened, I was like, oh, that's going to hurt, was they superimposed a worse scream over the actual action of her getting burned. So, like, the way she reacted to the embers that were CGI, obviously, was disconnected to the amount of hurt it was sounding like it caused her. So I was more pulled out by that. I was like, oh, guys, I just thought like she got, some hot water in her face or something.
Yeah.
Anyway, she almost hits a branch, and we find out that our sweet queen has some eyesight problems now.
Yes, and Elendil very
Losing his
graciously puts his hand on her hand and says, "Oh, we've been clear of the smoke for an hour." And she says, "I see." And then Elendil's like, "Do you?" Which I love. But
so cheesy.
I like him. Again, this is what I'm saying. Like his whole thing right now is like, all right, I got to serve the crown, serve my people. And he's in that moment right there for her, even though he's just found out about his son dying. And she's like, just lead the horse, just doesn't want anybody to know.
Yeah. But for someone that doesn't want anyone to know, she sure is wearing a loud and proud red bandana by the end.
To be fair, that's when she's on a hilltop away from everybody. So who knows if that's
becoming
just like,
a monk?
No,
becoming a nun on a monastery? Because she sure looks like she really looks like is the Lady of Justice.
Yes, blind as justice with the scale and the sword.
It is really tough. I mean, it's a beautiful image, but at the same time, it's like, whoa, guys, whoa.
Well, look, she's about to go full justice on the enemy because
true.
When Galadriel and Theo get back, we'll talk about maybe the Theo moment in a bit, but she goes to meet with the Queen, Galadriel, and is apologizing and shedding a tear. And Elendil is pissed because we do get the moment earlier with him where Beric comes into camp. And he's trying to calm Beric down, like, all right, Beric, and they're like, nobody can calm him down, and they just let him go. So clearly Beric's going to run off and
find Isildur.
I'm sure we're going to get a moment reminiscent of in the Peter Jackson trilogy, right, where Brago.
Shadowfax. Oh, no, the other one. Yeah.
Brago, I believe, is the name of the horse. Rescues Aragorn. And he says, like, I should have never pulled the elf on board. Again, blaming himself for all of this. If only I had not done that, right? None of this would have happened. And so when Galadriel finally comes up, he's like, let's just get out of here. Let's go back home. Let's leave. He doesn't want anything to do with any of this. Leave immediately. But Miriel, she wipes the tear from Galadriel's face and says, don't spend your pity on me. Save it for our enemies, because they do not know what they have begun. So she is about to go full-out warfare on Middle-earth and the enemy. And Galadriel's like, all right, the elves will be ready. So we're gearing up for the next phase of the Númenórean arc, which is they're just going to be sending everybody to Middle-earth, which we see. This is probably when we're going to get the capture of Sauron, which happens in spoilers, which happens in the books or in the Akalabeth.
Because you need Pharazôn to sail. Oh, I'm seeing it all now.
Yeah, so I'm thinking if I can make predictions, during when Sauron is captured, right, in the Númenórean story, it is our Pharazôn, king. He's king when that happens, and he is the one leading these armies. So maybe, even though Miriel is the one starting this, we're gonna see her being blind as one element of chipping away at her authority. And I think maybe that'll be sort of the foot in the door that Pharazôn uses to slowly erode her position of authority and take over as leader. Now, if he'll do that by marrying his cousin like he does in the books, maybe not. But we'll see. I
have a feeling. Are you done with your predictions?
Yes.
I have a different prediction. I think that in the same way that Elendil is actually hates Galadriel now, I think he actually does. Yeah, I think this is how they're going to. That's how Pharazôn will get the Númenóreans to agree to storm Valinor.
What, Galadriel?
Eventually. Well, that the elves are the cause of so many people dying.
Oh, yeah, that's interesting. I like that.
Because you already have Arian, that stupid fluffy mouth lady,
Aarion.
and Kemen. Arian. Nope, there's a bunch of people that don't like the elves. We've already seen him wanting to Pharazôn doesn't. We need to get the fall of Numenor. And it doesn't happen in the Last Alliance. The fall of Numenor has happened.
Correct.
And so we need to see the motivation, which we really don't have a strong one yet, in the next 2 seasons for them to think that they can go to Valinor?
Yeah, and again,
or how else are they going to pretend that Numenor gets destroyed?
Well,
another Mount Doom?
They could shift and condense and play with time so that we get the Last Alliance concurrent, or who knows.
All I'm saying is we need a motivating factor to, maybe it is a war on 2 fronts, right? Like you have the people that are sticking with Muriel, you have the people that are sticking with Pharazôn. You need some Numenorians to think, I am going against the elves and we're going to sail to Valinor. And you have Elendil and Isildur finally like coming back onto the right side of the team and fighting the War of the Last Alliance. Mm-hmm. So I had to remind myself that that's how Numenor, spoilers, dies. But how could we get there? So the hatred of the elves is really what's going to springboard
I
us
like
to
that of going like, look, all this suffering our people have endured is all because of this elf. And so,
it's not going to be the same. Pharazôn wanting to live forever it's not there.
Well, and again, that fear, one of their main reasons, the fear of death. That's why they go against the Valars, because they think they can gain immortality.
But we haven't seen any planting of a seed for that.
Yeah, I mean, well, when Sauron gets to Numenor, that's going to be.
It could be. But
I think we have
see Pharazôn wanting power.
Yes, correct. But I think we have seen the planting of the seeds for that, in that, look at all these Numenorians that just died. That's going to, further the fear of death in them. And like Tar Palantir, and, so the seeds are there. But it'll be interesting to see how they play it out. But yeah, so speaking of Elendil's amazing performance, his teared, pained look when Muriel's like, Elendil? Make the preparations. Yeah. Elendil, are you there? And he's like, just right at the camera. Mm-hmm. It's so good. All right, let's talk. Let's finish up the Southland stuff. We get the reuniting of Theo, and we get again mistaken identity because you're just looking at the hair. We had Elendil do that with Isildur. We have Theo do that with Bronwyn.
So many themes tying this episode together, Alex.
Yeah.
Wow.
Don't judge a head by its hair, they always say.
If you harm one hair on her foot.
So we get the emotion-filled reunion of Theo with his mom, and we get the amazing score swelling, and then Arondir stepping out from the corner, and him and Theo hug it out. Full on,
super chills.
Official stepdad. That's the sign. And then we get Bronwyn and Arondir confirming, all right, we are getting a fresh start. We're going to Pelargir. So we have confirmed that the Numenorians do indeed have colonies, Pelargir being one of them.
Is that canonical?
Oh, yeah. Yeah,
I don't know if I remember you talking about Pelargir, but I do remember the name a little bit.
That's a southern settlement in Gondor. In the Lord of the Rings, we see I'm blanking on the Prince Imrahil, I believe, is from there. I could be wrong on that because it's Dol Amroth. I don't know if it's the same, but they're in the same. Anyway, I think Dol Amroth used to be. That might be another name for Pelargir, or it used to be a colony. But anyway, I believe they're descended from some of those Numenorians, at least Prince Imrahil. Correct me if I'm wrong, please. But yeah, so I'm excited. We're going to get to see Pelargir either in this next episode or season 2. Pelargir is going to be a new setting, which is very exciting.
Oh, sure. I mean, we do need all sorts of... We need 9 men to get some rings.
Yeah, we might be meeting some new people there to
more Saurons.
Although they were the faithful there. So
yeah, but that doesn't mean you won't
True.
get them. We need a man.
Yeah.
Men are fallible.
I don't know. What about Alarond?
The
Think
sister?
she could? Yeah, you think she could become a ring?
What if she's the Witch King? And that's really anti-woman.
That's
Wow.
that's why it's the whole no man can kill the Witch King.
Wow.
No.
Speaking of Macbeth, but we're moving on.
Yeah. So and then Galadriel riding off with Halbrand to Linden. This, I mean, I already said it. It's awkward that we don't see Halbrand for the whole episode, and his wound needs. This is where I'm going to be nitpicky. His wound needs Elvish medicine, but it's just like an infection. So, like, I guess Bronwyn can't heal it. Like, normally in my mind, I think of Elvish medicine as like being for serious stuff. I guess it's that serious, but also then it's not serious enough where he, it's going to prevent him from riding on a months-long journey to Linden. It's weird.
Okay, so full disclosure, Alex and I are in the middle of reading The Fellowship together. He's reading to me. It's very lovely. We have a lovely relationship. And we're at the point where Frodo was just stabbed by the Witch King, and he is on a fortnight-long journey to Rivendell. And he's not doing well.
Yeah.
But he is traveling.
Yeah.
So I could stretch the imagination that an actual man of strong build and fortitude may be able to ride a little bit. Now, it's going to be really painful on that side.
We also do know that he has, like, superhuman capabilities. We don't know why. I guess we do know why. The dark bargain that his people struck that's in his blood, because he's the heir of the
He didn't say that.
No, but
it's implied.
He snaps a Númenórean's arm in half.
Again, they don't ever explicitly say that Númenóreans are stronger than normal men.
Okay, but a normal dude just snapping another normal dude's arm in half like that?
Against a wall?
Like it was a twig?
Against a wall?
That's some strength. I think he's got some power in him. So maybe that's lending to his fortitude. And maybe it's a thing where Galadriel has enough elvish knowledge to, like, keep it okay for the journey, but yeah.
Yeah, she kisses the wound and
kiss it to make it feel better, yeah. Needless to say, it's going to be hell.
A rough ride.
It's going to be hell for Halbrand. Like, it's going to take him months to get there on horse.
I love how he's... And so this is the thing that is just a little suspect about how he's found. Because we found him on the road, like, the night after or, like, later.
Yeah.
So he wasn't found amongst the wreckage. What kind of wound did he get? I think there's something that happened. It's not just he was thrown from the wreckage and, shards of wood hit him. Yeah, something weird happened.
The way Galadriel looks at the wound and then goes, "This needs elvish medicine." That could either be, like, her look could just be like, "Oh crap, he's got to go to Linden," or, how did he get this wound? And it's concerning her, but she doesn't say anything.
I didn't clock that as much.
I could see it being interpreted either way.
I just think the question of how he was found is odd. Yeah. That's all.
And I think that also might just be the writing of, like, we don't want to have Halbrand in this episode, and let's just how do we explain that he's there at the end and then he's
honestly,
going
at
with
this
Galadriel.
Point, I've been giving the writers a little too much credit, so I think you're right. So it could be just as simple as that.
This is one of the cringe moments for me in the episode. It's like, oh, that's weird that they just did that with Halbrand.
Yeah, totally.
Because they're like,
fair.
oh, we don't have anything for anyone for Halbrand to talk to.
He's
just wounded, and they find him.
And we need them to think that Bronwyn and
Yeah, because they couldn't show us Bronwyn and Arondir till Theo arrives, so we get the emotional moment, and so we couldn't have like Halbrand and Arondir or Halbrand and Bronwyn saying, interacting, because then it spoils the reuniting moment.
Not for a second did I think that Halbrand was dead, and
No, of course not.
We needed to hear even Theo ask Galadriel and our king, well, whatever. She thought he was dead. So we needed to have a little bit more context for that in order for the reveal of him to make a difference.
It seemed very thrown in there. And
Cringe.
Okay. Yeah.
Cringe. All right, let's get to the part of the show with the least amount of cringe. Everyone's waiting for it. It's the best part.
Before we get to the best part, we got to wrap up the hobbits. Or the
Harfoots. I totally always forget about them because they're the most boring.
It's yeah. There's good moments in this though.
You're right. There's interesting Harfoot stuff this episode. I don't need to say that there isn't. But yes, let us dally in the glade.
So we open with them coming across the grove, and it's been hit with some of the debris from the explosion or the eruption of Ordruin, and we get a reference from Sadok to, I've heard about this, and this doesn't happen unless great evil is rising, so some ominous foreshadowing there. And then we get that moment we talked about with Sadok sort of going, oh, can your friend help us here? And they're Nori and Poppy comes in to kind of do a save. Oh, we've already asked so much of him, because they know maybe when he tries to help, it's not always the best. There's some unintended consequences.
Yeah.
And I love the moment where he's like talking, he's saying the Elvish words to the tree. And
is it Elvish words?
Yeah.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Malva said, I think it's Malva says to Sadok, like, oh, trees don't talk, because he's saying, oh, maybe he's saying small words to the tree so it can understand, which is very funny.
That was very cute. Some trees do.
Yeah, some do, which is, we saw Ents earlier in the show. And we then get the stranger helping, but sadly there is an unintended consequence. He nearly kills Nori's little sister. I can't remember her
she's
name.
An idiot.
Yeah, like, don't get near the strange man chanting.
An idiot. Like, yeah, let's run toward it.
But she's excited,
I understand, but she's an idiot. It's actually completely her fault.
Wow, victim blaming the Harfoots.
She gets up like
yeah, and Nori jumps in to save her,
which was very nice.
Yeah.
And one time several times while you're waitressing, you might, especially at the diner that I worked at, kids will get loose of their parents, or kids will let them. And one time a kid ran right into me and fell on her butt, and the parent, I went, oh, and the parents went, we're sorry, because you know what? Yeah, it's the kid's fault. I have plates in my hand. I could have dropped them on the child.
Yeah,
wrangle your child. Anyway, she didn't die. She could have.
Yes, and the stranger clearly looks distraught. He's probably thinking...
It's so sad,
thinking
Alex.
in his head, I'm peril.
It's so sad.
Yeah, I don't think he says anything in this episode except for when he's chanting to the tree. Even when Sadok, because Sadok, after this, right, everyone's kind of horrified and looking at him like, dude, you almost killed a kid. Even if it was a little her fault. It's not a good look. And it doesn't seem to work, right? Everyone's looking like, oh, nothing happened. So Sadok is talking to him, and he sends him off in the direction of Greenwood the Great. Now, Jess, I don't think we've talked about this in our previous, episodes where we were covering the background. Do you know what Greenwood the Great is?
I actually don't.
So Greenwood the Great is the former, I guess if we're thinking from the Third Age perspective, which most people do, it is the forest that would become Mirkwood.
Oh, so it was good. It was a good forest.
Yes, this was before the evil came to Mirkwood and it became Mirkwood, because that is when Sauron takes up residence in Dol Guldur, is that it becomes Mirkwood. And
so then the stranger is Sauron.
Clearly, he's going to get to Greenwood and set up base, and even though it's thousands of years before that happened, yes.
Great.
Clearly, That's the only thing this means.
Hey, you're the one talking about truncating time, so don't come for me.
So I'm excited because this means I don't think they would just drop that in there Maybe it's a little Easter egg, but I think, again, that we got the setup for Pelargir. Maybe this is a setup for Greenwood season 2.
I think that makes sense.
Right? Because there are Sylvan elves that live there, so we could see some of that stuff. Maybe they're going to do something with Ents, potentially. There might be Ents living there. Who knows? So a lot of cool possibilities if we get to Greenwood. Now he was heading in that direction, but yeah, we'll see what happens with that. And he gives him Sadok gives the stranger the drawing of the constellation, and then we see and the stranger kind of looks thankfully and doesn't say anything and then wanders off. And then as the camera pans over, we see a little yellow flower sprouting out of the tree. So I guess his magic maybe worked. I don't know. We'll see. And then as he's leaving,
is there yellow flower imagery anywhere in the Silmarillion or the appendices?
Not that I know. I'm sure there are people versed in the flora and fauna of Middle-earth that could say exactly what that flower is. I do not know.
Well, the only reason I ask is because it's obviously not a flower that's inherent to an apple tree, which is why those crazy ladies find it.
Yeah, and they see the significance of it. I don't know. That's an interesting question.
Well, then we get the sad handing off of an apple.
Yes, and clearly Nori is sad, but also, she's clearly conflicted in this moment. She wants to be there for her friend, but she's like, "I'm sorry, dude. You kind of did mess up."
My sister, even though my sister is an idiot.
Yeah, so a great acting from, in my opinion. I'm not an expert, but loved the actress's performance who's playing Nori.
Totally moving on on everyone's. Yeah, the Harfoots nailed it. Never once do I look at the Harfoots, except for this episode.
We'll get to the cringe moment for the Harfoots.
Except for this episode, do I go, wow, they're really not embodying what I think they're supposed to be.
Yes. Yeah.
So terrific moments. Yeah. I felt so bad for this stranger. Yeah. It was painful.
And then we cut to Nori and her stepmom talking, and
she calls her mother.
Yeah.
That was really sweet.
And Nori's basically, again, putting the blame on herself. I never should have gone when I saw the star falling.
I'm just a Harfoot.
I'm just a Harfoot. That's all I'll ever be. I should have just let it alone. So
okay, Alex, keep on trying.
Yeah. Well, hey, I'm Irish. I can do it.
No, it's not. You can't not do it. I'm just saying you just can't do it.
Yeah, incapable, but I'm allowed to. So we get this regret, and again, blaming herself for what's happened, right? The common theme. But her stepmom, Marigold, is being very encouraging and like, oh, come on, it's fine. Don't blame yourself. It happens. And then when we come back to the Harfoots, Nori's waking up and Poppy's just eating an apple and everybody's happy. And she's like, what are you doing? Stop eating all the vittles. We got to save them. And then the reveal, it worked. The grove is full of flowers and apples, and everybody's picking them, and we get this little montage.
I didn't think about this. The significance of her giving the apple is actually quite large because they don't have that much food.
Yeah, exactly. It's a big deal.
I didn't even clock that.
Mm-hmm.
Huh.
She's like...
Yeah, I thought Poppy was going, just you take a look and then you come tell me what if I should be eating the apple or not. I thought that was really a great delivery, adorable. Poppy is
very
amazing.
Cute. Yeah.
So cute.
So we're getting this awesome montage of all the Harfoots. Now they're happy and they're getting all the apples and they're filling up their carts. And then we get Poppy by the river getting some water, and she sees a very large footprint. And I love this shot where it like is on her and then it pans down to the footprint and then it pans back up and it's just the bucket in the water and she's gone. I love that. It's so good.
So good. Yeah. Although dumb, take the bucket.
Well, yeah, true. Because who finds the bucket?
Who finds the bucket? It sounds like a song. Who stole the bucket from the bucket
That's
jar?
going to be in episode 8, the song that Poppy will sing. Who finds the bucket? It's a classic Harfoot.
When I was a snailin',
yeah,
there was a bucket too.
Yeah, she is singing that song when she drops the bucket.
Yeah,
yeah, it's very fitting.
So the scary ladies
Mm-hmm.
that are hunting down the stranger, from what we can tell, find the bucket. Then now the whole town's on alert, and they're hiding from what they think are the large people, and they are there at night, and they see them, and Nori's looking after, and they pick the flower, and dumb idiot Nori,
and we get the cultist just pointing. Yeah.
And Nori knows exactly what that means. So
yeah, this was another nitpick I had. Like, could Nori just because like, up until this point, the Harfoots have never seen these people. So and she doesn't see them do magic, right?
Right.
So how is it she makes the connection that they're hunting the stranger? Is it just that they're pointing in the direction the stranger went? Is it that they find the flower? It's a bit of a reach.
Nori didn't know the flower was there. Do you know what I mean? No one knew the flower was there.
They saw him pick it.
I'm saying they didn't know that was a flower. They didn't know that it was his flower. That was the first thing to bloom. So like that's
but there were no flowers there until he did his magic.
I understand.
So all the flowers come from him.
I guess.
Yeah.
Maybe it was an apple bud flower. Who knows?
I don't know. But it was a little bit of a like, how do you know? I guess she just intuited. But like a bit of a dummy, but hey, a dummy who wants to protect her friend. Right. She has a big heart and goes, hey, he went that way. That's who you're, And clearly this does not go well. Very creepy shot where it's on her and then it cuts back and they're just gone. And then they appear behind her.
Creepy.
And very conspicuously, one of them yoinks a little acorn from her head. I'm sure that will come back to bite her.
I didn't catch that.
Yeah, she whoop, picks the little acorn. So I'm sure they have some weird magic thing they're going to do with that to track her or to do some, I don't know, some weird magic with it that they haven't, something of her essence,
Gotcha.
And then Largo is like, I'll brain y'all with my torch, and then the one grabs the torch and sucks all the flame out of it, just like the stranger can do. Same kind of magic with the heat and cold.
Ice.
Yeah. Oh, so she and then blows, but with her magic or their magic, the gender's unclear. With their magic, blows the little embers, and there's dark smoke, which is clearly evil, and all the wagons just light up.
Awful.
Yeah.
Awful.
And
horrible moment. I mean, not visually, like great storytelling, but sad, so sad.
Yeah, just like literally their entire lives are up in flames.
Gave a real big performance there.
Yeah, but believable because, like, I mean, literally it's their entire culture and civilization going up in flames. That's all. Right. Like all they have is in those wagons.
Right.
They have nothing without them except each other, because Largo, after they're picking up the wreckage, gives an inspirational speech.
Right.
About sticking together. He's trying to cheer up Nori, and the dwarves mine gems, the elves have their stuff. We have each other, and we just keep walking. We got our big hearts, and we keep walking. And upon hearing this, Nori's like, you know what? Maybe I should go help my friend, the stranger, because he doesn't have anybody right now. He went off alone. He went off trail, and he's walking alone. And that's not good for the Harfoots. So she's like, I'm going after him. And this is where we get to
oh my God.
The moment. Do you want to?
You're not going anywhere. Not without me.
Yeah, it was
so bad. It's so bad. It's painful. It's a painful delivery.
Yeah.
It's a painful choice. Why all of a sudden is Marigold going, yeah, this is what my call to action is? There's nothing leading up to that call, and it's the worst acting I've ever seen in my life. And she was 100% directed to do that.
Yeah, I was like,
I would like to talk to John Cahill.
Do we have other takes here?
No. John Cahill said do that. It's not her fault.
Yeah.
It's bad.
Because if that's what you're going for, the cheesy little, then she nailed it. She nailed that.
You can deliver that line with sentiment.
Yes.
And get the same point across with a little bit more subtlety.
Yeah, not like the immediate change of expression. Not without me. Like it was very cartoony.
It's so bad. What is she, Pippin? Like, she's not Pippin.
Well, and even, I think it's just such a stark change in tone. Because, the Harfoots are like the light and fun kind of storyline, and they have the little quips. Although I think Elrond and Doran's quips are better in this episode. We'll get there. But it's just such a stark change in tone within the same, plot of the Harfoots that I was like,
it's so bad.
Yeah.
And even Sadok joining them is a little weird.
Here's the thing. I like that Sadok's going with them, and I like the moment he and Malva have where he's like, for once, Malva, could you not be right all the time? Like, that's a much better kind of quippy, funny moment that was better delivered in terms of the tone. And, still funny, but, not so cartoonish that you're taken out of it.
What's the over-under on Sadok making Marigold his third wife?
I guess, Largo's got the broken ankle. He's not. Maybe he's gonna get left behind, or Sadok's gonna make sure of it.
I do think it's very funny, and this is the last we see of them as they're walking off. And he goes, "Well, we're all gonna die anyway."
Yeah,
it is so bleak.
Yeah.
And I'm so glad that we're gonna go find our stranger. I really hope he's not Sauron.
It's typical Hobbit humor, right? They always.
Oh, it's so good. I'm not saying it's a bad thing. I think it's so good.
Yeah. And they say well, we can't miss him. He's a giant. Right?
Yeah, it's very cute. Yeah. Speaking of dying, the fate of the elves in Durin's hand.
Yes. So we open.
Let's just get it out on the table. Right away.
Get what out on the table?
The leaf and let's get it out on the table like the leaf and the mithril. Okay. They have stuck the landing that mithril will heal the blight.
No, they have not. Hear me out.
Oh my God. This is too much mind work. Okay, go for it.
So, we know a couple things. We know Gil-galad saw the blight on the tree. Right?
Yes.
We know we know that he believes that this is a physical manifestation of the blight that is upon the elves' spirits.
Yeah.
Okay. And we also know...
I don't know. We don't know if there is an actual blight on the... Oh.
And he believes mithril can heal these things. What do we see in this episode? We see
that the leaf is healed by the mithril.
Any evidence to confirm that the mithril can do that to elf spirits? Because all we have to go on is Gil-galad's word that the blight on the tree and the darkening blight on the elf spirits are intrinsically linked. And his belief is coming from, who knows where.
And we also have no idea what the blight on the elves is or how he knows that that's happening.
Right.
Is the tree, is that their tree of life?
No, it's just a tree.
Yeah.
So here's where I'm holding out hope, because at first I was like, oh man, but then I thought about it.
I think your heart's going to break, but
we'll see. If it turns out it's all of this mithril healing elf souls is true, it would be a big change to the cosmology of Tolkien's world. So that would be disappointing for me. The mithril healing the blight from a leaf on a tree, that means nothing. It means no confirmation of that. It just means that mithril can heal this physical blight on a tree. So this could be...
Which kind of makes sense if we're going with the theory that mithril was created by lightning striking a tree where the Silmaril...
Yeah, maybe it can just heal trees.
Maybe that's why the elf tree can grow where there's no light. In the tree that Doran was given by Elrond.
Oh, I never made that connection.
Why would you? Because we're working this out together.
Yeah, no, that's cool. But they would have to have mithril light nearby. Maybe it's soaking up mithril essence from the mountain. I'm just
saying.
No, I like that.
It's not connected at all.
I like that. And maybe it is. Who knows? But yeah, so it does imply that I don't know. It's complicated. I still, it doesn't necessarily mean that Mithril is going to heal any sort of evil on elf spirits. So I'm holding out hope for that they're just mistaken. And this is a maybe, I don't know, maybe Sauron, because clearly it's like Sauron behind the blight on the tree and everything, right? Like who else would be doing that? So he maybe planted this here to encourage them to get the Mithril, even though the idea of there being some sort of darkness over their spirit is false. But he, knew that they would be led to believe that it meant this thing, or he somehow he's already an Eregion, maybe, is my belief. And he's manipulating, right? Because how did they get this idea, right? This is what it comes down to. How did they get the idea that Mithril is going to heal them? And my belief is that Anatar is already an Eregion, and he's been manipulating Celebrimbor, and Celebrimbor came to Gil-galad and was like, yo, dude, Mithril, that's our answer.
Question. I didn't know this, and my friend Elisa Pearl and I were talking about this. What are the rings made of?
So they're not all made of Mithril.
But some of them are.
Yeah, Galadriel's ring, the ring Galadriel gets, Nenya, is the ring of adamant, or that one's made of Mithril. So, Mithril is helping them, I think, not only
to do the forging quickly.
Yeah. It's just.
And Sauron's ring is not Mithril.
No, it's gold.
It's gold.
Yeah.
Right.
No.
Okay.
Mithril is not like inherent to the creation of the rings, but certainly it's going to help the elves like build this massive forge project. And it is said in the Lord of the Rings that Sauron greatly covets Mithril. So for whatever reason, they don't say why. So maybe they'll invent a reason for him to do so. Maybe they are going to make it inherent to making these rings, which I'm fine with. Doesn't really matter in terms of contradicting things in canon. I'd be okay with that. But I think personally that it's Anatar manipulating Celebrimbor to get this Mithril, and the way he's doing that is through convincing the elves that they need it for this other reason that is going to really make them want to get the Mithril. So that is still possible, and the Mithril healing the blight on the leaf doesn't inherently mean that all the BS about the soul is true.
I offer this. This is where our two roads diverge. I don't care that the Mithril will heal the elves. I think for TV truncation, if you didn't know that Mithril didn't do that, you don't care.
It's not about whether or not Mithril can do that. That I'm fine. I'm fine with. Sure, we invent an origin story for Mithril, or it has these properties that it never had before. What is it?
Because that's the only thing I'm seeing people be upset about.
Well, they don't understand. They're just mad about trivial things that are changed. The thing that's not trivial that's being changed is Elrond saying, our spirits will die. That's not how elf spirits work, and that would be a huge change to just the core essence of what elves are in Middle-earth and in Tolkien's world.
Okay.
So that's why I hope it's not true, because if they can just, elf spirits can die because of a corruption, that has so many implications and that are at the core of how elves are different than, humans and dwarves, and just like the afterlife and all of these things that I think are central to elves and how they fit in with Arda.
Got it.
Mithril being forged by whatever, I don't care. Cool. Or it has cool properties. Cool. Great. Do that. Yeah, fine. But it's the thing about the spirits.
That's helpful. That's helpful to be reminded of. Thank you. So Doran, the king, gets mad when Elrond and Doran the prince are found mining the Mithril despite his wishes.
Well,
they find it.
We're jumping way ahead.
Well, I know, but we know what already happened. We see Elrond.
I did have cool things I wanted to talk about.
All right.
I loved that
17-hour episode. Look,
this was a juicy episode.
The most was it?
I love that Elrond knows some Khuzdul. It's great because it's a secret dwarf language. So we get this speech from King Doran when the proposal is given. That's all about, Aule creating them from rock and fire, right? And so this theme of like the old versus the new, right? Resisting time and embracing the truth. And so this is going to be a central theme that, Doran is more maybe the stone, and King Doran is more the stone, and Prince Doran is more embracing truth. But I love the interplay there. And before he even catches them, we get the sort of goodbye scene, or what will not end up being goodbye, but when Doran says, "So this is goodbye then," and Elrond is like, "We don't say goodbye, we say," and then Doran finishes Namarie. It's so sweet.
It's beautiful.
And like I love that they're demonstrating how Elrond knows, like they're demonstrating the brotherhood, which is a central theme with Elrond and Doran. Elrond learns a little Khuzdul. Duran's learning a little Elvish. He knows Namarie and about their culture. And it's after that moment when Elrond leaves that we get the moment of the Mithril healing the leaf. And we talked about Disa sort of being like, "Oh, your dad, he sucks. He's got lice in his beard." She hasn't gone full Lady Macbeth yet, though.
She's about to, though.
Yeah. So when they go, after Durin has the revelation of, "Oh, this Mithril, it actually works," we get a great scene with them in the mine. Mm-hmm. Some great little back and forth. We get the reveal of Elrond, which you called this.
Thank you for remembering.
Yes. Elrond purposefully lost the Sigyn-Tag. Is that how I think it's Sigyn-Tag? Yeah. The rock breaking contest. And I love his delivery of, "I was winded." Very, very much reminiscent of Legolas and Gimli drinking contest, where Legolas looks at his fingers. He's like, "I can feel something in my fingers." And clearly he's like not at all affected.
Totally.
Elrond gives him some crap for Durin, son of Durin, grandson of Durin, and the sweetest moment of all, Durin, after that little dig, saying, "Well, we have secret names. We only reveal them to family. Fathers, mothers, sisters." And then he looks at Elrond, "Brothers." And Elrond can tell, the look he gives Durin, he can tell he's about to tell him his secret name, and he goes, "Save it for the far side." Which you had asked me, like, what does that mean? And I interpreted it two ways. Either it's Elrond being like, "Look, maybe this whole thing won't work out and I'm going to die soon. We'll see each other in Valinor." Or he's saying, on the other side of us getting through this together.
Right.
So I think he means it both ways. But I think him denying this moment for Durin is like, he's asking Durin, like, cling on to some hope that this won't be the end.
That makes a lot of sense.
You know what I mean?
Because I was like, dude, just let him tell you his name.
Yeah. I think...
But you're right.
Yeah, he's wanting to be like, look, if you're doing that, you're acknowledging that all is lost and this is the last moment we're going to have together or whatever. Save that. We'll see each other again.
Yeah, that's fair.
You know
that's
what I mean?
Actually totally fair, for sure.
And then we get King Doran bursting in after they find the little, not little, the massive chamber full of Mithril.
Gigantic.
And then they get caught by Daddy Doran, and Elrond gets kicked out. But he gets kicked out with the little chunk of Mithril, which clearly he's going to bring back and they're going to do something with. We'll see what happens.
They're going to rub it all over the trees. And I was going to say, if it heals the elves, Elrond's going to be fine because he's been handling the heck out of that thing.
Yeah, he's had exposure. If it works like radiation, right? You just get exposure from being near it.
He's going to be okay.
Yeah, he's fine. His soul...
Elrond, don't tell me your name because I'm going to be here a little bit longer than all the other elves.
Oh my god, that's amazing if that's what ends up happening.
I mean, it would insinuate that.
Yeah.
Unless you have to literally eat it or something. I don't know. Or like sit in a bathtub with a piece of mithril. I can't assume that's what he did or didn't do.
Listener of the podcast, Galadriel, had a great theory about how it would be applied, is that they would make design like body lotion with mithril dust.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, they already have like silver dust on Doran's elbows, and there's like silver dust on Disa's outfit.
Mm-hmm.
So it makes a lot of sense, actually.
Yeah.
So one of the things you were talking about is like, whoa, this is really unlike Disa's character. Was her, they're sitting there drinking after we see, you're right, I just jumped ahead a little bit of Doran the king disowning.
Yeah, we get
basically just casting aside this piece of metal that's like basically, oh, you were my son, but you're not my son.
So it's in the X-ray, which is on Amazon Prime. You go hover over and it's like the X-ray. That is like the symbol that you are the heir to the throne. They say that in the little X-ray. So like him yanking that is basically, and saying you won't need that anymore, is basically him disowning him as the heir. And it's revealed in this episode that he has a brother.
Right.
So
right.
They're potentially setting up this conflict now.
I see.
I am, yeah. So, and then the conversation with King Doran, we find out his mother's dead, and that he was sort of, barely survived birth, and his dad just saw him as a kid, like put all his hope and dreams into him, and so he's very disappointed. And we get the line from Prince Doran, you're squandering our future by clinging to the past. I'm trying to be more forward thinking. You're squashing any ambition that I have that does not come from your own mind. But where it really comes to a head is when he calls Alarond his brother. Doran gets mad. King Doran gets mad about that. And then he says, you profane the crown you wear. And that's when he's stripped of the heirhood. And then, so Disa, we just haven't seen this side of her. And it's really interesting because clearly, like, all the interactions that we've seen with, like, Doran and Disa's, like, supportive. So supportive of her husband. And so I think it's Doran is putting the blame on himself for this.
Right.
And Disa, her way of being supportive is like, all right, we got to push back. Let's get the dwarf lords on our side. We just go against your father and open up the mithril mine, right? If we can prove that this is an operation that is going to be successful, we'll just play some politics and like push your dad out. You said that.
I didn't think that the second time.
I think that's clearly what she's saying.
She said, you will one day be the king. So, and that is ours because of that. So at first, it totally read Lady Macbeth.
Yeah.
Like, it was like, whoa, she's plotting to overthrow the king and kill the brothers or something, But after the second thought, I think she is just vehemently bolstering her man.
Right.
And making him feel good, especially using some of the keywords she said.
Well, and remind me of the timeline. She says this before King Doran, like, yoinks.
No, this is after.
It's after, okay.
So what Disa is saying is, you are going to be the king. This isn't going to stop you.
Well, he's not going to be the king if his dad just...
So I think she's saying that we're going to find a way to make it.
Gotcha.
That way. You will one day. The mithril is ours. You are the right, but you're not your brothers, which is how we learn that he has brothers. She's a little drunk. She's a little emotional.
I think it was the way she was saying it that made me go like, whoa, are you like...
It was heavy. I don't think there's going to be patricide. I think they're going to find a way to get back into their father's good graces, or they're going to go back into the mine and get the mithril and save the elves. I think there is some sort of hatching of a plot. And like I said, I was the first person to be like, the Scottish play is being invoked. And if they do go that route with her, I'd be surprised, but that scene lends itself to that. But the character choice would be a surprising one for me.
I will say, it will be interesting because I think we're going to get the Anatar/Sauron reveal next episode. And what Anatar/Sauron likes to do is prey upon people's desire for power and ambition. So is that a foothold for him in Khazad-dûm, in Disa? Maybe. They could be setting that up. I don't know.
If she's Sauron, I'm on board. I'm on board. At first I was like, no, I'm in.
Well, speaking of maybe not Sauron, but evil in Khazad-dûm, what's the thing that is the greatest rift in our relationship as of yet, Jess?
The leaf heard round the world.
We disagree on this so much. So we see, I'll just set up what we see. We see King Doran in the Mithril Mine. And he goes, close it up, I think is what he says. And he throws the leaf in the hole that Doran, his son, made. And then we see a shot of it going down and through the mithril veins. And it, tracking shot, and it lands on the floor or the bottom of this cavern. And then we see it burn up. And then we see shadow. And then that shadow erupts in flame. And we see, finally, the shot we got in the Comic-Con.
Here comes Balrog.
Here comes the Balrog.
No, it's not that, by the way.
Another disagreement about Balrogs.
No, everyone else agrees. Here comes
Balrog. What did the Twitter poll say about this one, though?
Not overwhelmingly.
Okay.
But the Twitter voted more for the fact that the leaf did not wake up the Balrog.
So here's the disagreement: Jess saw this scene and immediately went, "What did King Doran do? He shouldn't have thrown that leaf in there. That's what woke up the Balrog, was the leaf falling." And I went, "No, it wasn't the leaf that woke up the Balrog. It just happened to get burned up because the Balrog is down there. It wasn't. There's no causal link between the two." And so this was the source of disagreement. Did the leaf? Was the leaf the thing that woke the Balrog up?
Yes, it was. And because it's not great writing.
Can I ask a question?
Sure. I mean, yeah.
Let's pretend that King Doran never throws the leaf in there. What happens?
The Balrog gets awoken eventually when they decide to continue mining mithril.
Okay.
Once a rock falls all the way down there.
So you're saying up until this point,
the Balrog has not been disturbed.
None of the previous mining efforts they did.
Because it's very far down.
Okay.
They dug too deep and they dug too greedily.
Okay.
They hadn't gotten that far yet.
I think they clearly haven't, because look how far the leaf goes down.
Exactly, which is why the leaf wakes up the Balrog. Because symbolically, they wanted to show that King Doran's choice was so bad, and no matter what he did, it was going.
No, King Doran is in the right. King Doran is completely correct in his thinking.
Yes, but but the irony is that he woke up the Balrog.
No, I disagree.
I wish you were right, but you're not.
Twitter thinks I'm right.
I welcome our audience to join us in this discourse. And if you think I'm right or wrong, please tell me. I don't think I'm wrong. I think I'm right. I'll die. I'll take it to my grave. I can't wait until I get to ask the writer why, not if, why that was the choice.
It's symbolic. It's just a cool reveal.
It was symbolic. And symbolically, that's when the Balrog
No, you're saying
up.
Literally that's when the Balrog woke up.
It is.
And I'm saying it's not literal. The Balrog was already awake.
It is literally
okay.
When the Balrog woke up. Anyway.
We could talk about that for hours.
Let's move on to the Maethor minute. Alex,
no.
Not even?
We didn't talk about the cheesiest thing in the episode.
What?
The ending.
Oh, I don't think I want to talk about it.
All right. The title transition. We get Waldreg sucking up to Adar, And at our Lord of the Southlands, and he goes, no, it's not the Southlands. It needs a new name or whatever the hell he says.
And then for some reason, Haldrag is like, Adar.
Yeah.
Adar.
Because he's a suck up.
Like, he's such a cuck.
He really needs to make up for the fact he's not an orc. I think he's compensating, you know? He's trying to sound orcish. Sure. But instead of Adar just saying the new name of the orc homeland, which would have been totally fine, we get a shot of Orodruin in bellowing smoke and fire, and then the titles we've seen for the locations and that we haven't seen in a while come up.
To be fair.
Yeah, we haven't seen in a number of episodes. And it says the Southlands, and then that fades, and then burning in, it says Mordor. And I want to rant about this because it's really cheesy. It tonally is shocking and it's whiplash. I don't know who this is for. So I was talking to you about this before. If you know this stuff, if you're like me or even someone like, you know, Jess, you know, it's like, oh, we're looking at Mordor, right? This is clear from the last episode, right? If you're in the know, if you know the Lord of the Rings or, you know about Tolkien, you know that we've been in Mordor for a while. So for those people, this is just like, yeah, we knew this. This is not a shocking, oh my God, you know, Kevin McAllister face slap moment. It's Mordor, right? So for us, it rings as cheesy, right? It's like, this is like, why? Just have Adar say Mordor. And for the people out there who are watching, who have never seen anything Tolkien, they've never read The Hobbit, never read Lord of the Rings, they're just like, oh, let me jump on board this Rings of Power show, right? I have Amazon Prime, let me watch it. They don't know what Mordor is. So it has no significance to them, right? They're just like, why is this a big deal? What is Mordor, right? So I don't know who this reveal is for.
Peter Jacksonites?
No, because if you saw them, let's pretend it's someone who we don't have to pretend, there's plenty of people out there. Someone who just saw the Peter Jackson movies. That's all they saw. In the last episode, when that volcano blew up, where else could that be? It's pretty clear. And so it just is like, I don't get who this title, this shocking reveal, oh my God, because I think that's the reaction they were expecting, is like, it's Mordor, crazy.
It's such a bad call.
It's so bad. And I just don't, it didn't need to be there. Like, if you just had that same shot without the cheesy title burning up, it would have been great. Right? What is this land called? And Adar just knowingly looking, and then we get the shot of Mount Doom and the shadow coming out. That's awesome. Or even Adar just saying Mordor, right?
What if the Balrog came out and was like, Mordor, the leaf woke me up.
But that's all, folks.
That's all.
And he does a little tap dance with a cane and a hat. Yeah. Hello, my baby. Hello, my darling.
Hello, my ragtime guy.
I would have liked that more. It's
a bad call.
Bad.
It was bad.
It's bad. The cringiest moment of this episode for me was definitely that. I just don't get who it's for.
They ended it just for already making so many weird calls with the episode in my IMO. To end it that way just was like the nail in the coffin.
Yeah.
It was, and don't get me wrong, it's gonna be really hard no matter what to follow up after episode 6.
Yeah,
but they really tried our patience this episode. That's pretty unfortunate.
Yeah, I think I'm more leaning towards liking it more than you, but I can definitely see where you're coming from, and
it just was it was rough. And I felt like I was watching a TV show, especially with the floating letters in the sky.
I think, for me, that was not unforgivable, very bad.
Unforgivable.
I think personally, I'm more willing to give them benefit of the doubt and forgive some of the maybe bad plotting stuff and. Like, okay, hand wave that, whatever, I don't care. Because, like, the character development stuff is so good. So for me, that's where I'm like, okay. But the title, fade so bad.
Rough.
Yeah, and so we'll see what they do with the finale. They got a lot to make it a satisfying
say
resolution.
At the end of season 1.
Oh my god. Oh my god, what if they do like a Vikram style with the stranger where it's like Gandalf?
Yeah.
For those who don't know, Vikram's a Bollywood movie where they have crazy, insane title cards for all the characters.
3/4 of the way into the movie.
Yeah, you've already known these characters for over an hour and a half. Some of them.
It's unbelievable.
Yeah,
it's going to be Sauron.
Slow
Gandalf.
Motion. Yeah.
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 Balrog, in case you didn't know.
Durin's Bane.
Yeah, exactly. All right. On a lighthearted note, lighthearted and more noted. What did our boy Maethor do in this episode?
Here's what Maethor did.
Mm-hmm.
All right. We get the same shot as Galadriel where he wakes up, just eyes open up. And he's doing what you wanted Galadriel to do. He's just going around.
You're just trying to cater to me right now.
Well,
okay.
maybe. And he's just saving people left and right. And who does he get to? Remember? We saw
Antimo? Does he save Antimo?
We saw Isildur pull Valandil and Antimo out of the wreckage. He's there with his elf strength and agility. We get to see it. He does maybe
stop the collapse.
What?
Maybe he stops the collapse.
Oh, the collapse. Yes, exactly. He's holding it up, and he gives them just enough time for Valandil and Antimo to get out. And so he, through his valiance and courage, is the reason that, yes, in the Maethor Minute timeline, Antimo still alive.
There can't be two. Maethor dies when he can't hold the roof any longer, and he gets stabbed by a beam on fire.
So he's like he gives him the sly wink
that
only Maethor can do, and then as he's got the cocksure look on his face, just go.
Yeah, right into the chest.
No.
I know.
Wait,
I know.
Does this mean
we have an Antimo moment now?
The torch has been passed.
We have an Antimo
minute? Hold on. We have the Maethor minute.
And the Antimo timeout. Or no, the Antimo. Yeah, the Antimo minute.
Antimo minute. All right, I was trying to think of a clever alliteration. Antimo minute.
If our audience can think of something, they can
send us your suggestions. Antimo minute. The torch has been passed. And when inevitably another character that we love, a sweet little pudgy boy, gets introduced and then killed a few episodes later, I think we know what's going to happen.
We know what's going to happen. I think Maethor lived out his. We got enough of Maethor. I miss him so badly, but now my heart is just broken about.
We don't have to say goodbye to Maethor. We say Namarie.
Namarie. All right, Alex. What are the different ways our audience can interact with us and tell us how much they agree with me about the leaf?
You can go to Twitter. Follow us at Twitter at Pod of the Rings. You can go to patreon.com/Pod of the Rings. You can email us at podcastoftherings@gmail.com. And you can check out our website at, podcastoftherings.com.
And also Instagram.
There you go.
Potterpod, POTRPOD, which is where a lot of our crap posting goes, and for the better.
Follow for the dank memes.
New episode every Tuesday. We will be right here with you to watch the finale of Rings of Power Season 1. We will probably do a watch along over on Alex's Twitch, which is twitch.tv/Solkatu, SOLKATTU. And Alex, we have years to fill until the next season comes out. So
it's going to feel like a lifetime.
Going to really be, one of us is probably going to die before then. Anyway, this has been a pleasure doing this with you. As always, thank you for your many insights, your intense elaborations, your long-winded insights.
I get it. I'll shut up.
Did I say insights already? What?
I'm just kidding.
Get out of here.
Okay.
I love you. I'll see you next week. And until then,
may our roads meet again.